Hello South Shore, welcome back to 3rd grade online with Miss Nazaripour. This week in reading, we are going to switch our focus over to fiction. We've been reading a lot of nonfiction. We read nonfiction all week last week, and we looked for the main idea. This week we're going to return to really thinking about theme. And if you remember earlier in the year on these videos, we were talking about theme as the message. So theme means the message. It's the moral or the lesson that the author wants you to learn. Remember, sometimes the author doesn't make you do a lot of work. They just come out and tell you what the theme is. In some of the writings we're going to read this week, you're going to see where the author just tells you what the theme is. But today you're going to have to use your clues because the theme is not going to be stated outright. It's going to be implied. So you're going to have to use clues to figure it out. Remember that some of the themes we talked about that are pretty typical to find in books that we read together are to appreciate what you have, to stand up for what you believe in, to show kindness, to be responsible, don't judge others, don't hide from your problems, and support your friends. And I bet you can think of many, many other themes that you have learned in the books that we've read together. Okay, 3rd grade. All right, 3rd graders, let's get into the book we're going to read today. It's called Noodlephant. Do you see the noodles and the elephant? Noodlephant, get it? To get our minds ready, just like we always do, we're going to read the blurb on the inside cover. Famous for her pasta parties, Noodlephant is shaking to her core when the bossy kangaroos in her town decide that noodles are only for them. Such injustice. Remember, injustice means when something's not fair. Noodlephant can't and won't accept it. Determined to do something about it, she and her friends invent a very special pasta machine. With that, her pasta parties are back, though not for long. Let's find out what happens. Once there was an elephant who loved noodles. She loved noodles so much that all her friends called her Noodlephant. She loved to scoop noodles in huge slippery slurps, onomatopoeia, and eat them by the trunkload. Get it? Trunkload. She had neighbors of all sorts. Some had fur and some were smooth. Some could roll and some could fly. And some had deep pockets and were very, very bossy. Those were the kangaroos. Now, 3rd graders, when you hear that phrase, deep pockets, I think maybe they're referring to the fact that kangaroos are marsupials. That means they have a pocket that they keep their babies in. But if you hear that, that phrase, deep pockets, it also means people who have a lot of money. So I wonder if the kangaroos had a lot of resources, a lot of money. The kangaroos were always making new laws. They made laws about who could swim at the beach. Only kangaroos. Who could enjoy butterfly garden? Only kangaroos. And who could make laws? Only kangaroos. 3rd graders, in class, we talked a lot this year about equity. Go ahead and remind me, if you can, what equity means. Did you say that equity means everybody getting what they need to be successful, even when it's not the same thing? That's right. Now, are the kangaroos having equity, or are they being inequitable, meaning they don't have equity? What do you think? Yeah, I agree. The kangaroos are not being equitable. They are only making sure that they themselves have what they need. That's really selfish. They've also created systems where nobody can do anything about it, because if you can't make a law, then you just have to listen to the people who can. Let's see how Noodlephant and all her friends deal with this inequity or injustice. Noodlephant and her friends knew the laws weren't fair, but they didn't want to get thrown into the zoo. So instead of swimming at the beach, they cooled off in the sprinklers. Instead of visiting the butterfly garden, they watched moths dance in the lamplight. Instead of making laws, they made food for each other. The zoo doesn't sound like a place that very many animals want to be, huh? Noodlephant in particular was famous for her pasta parties. She loved to mix whole bags of semolina flour with dozens of eggs, delighting her guests with noodles of all shapes and sizes. Look at all the different friends she has there. She has some fish, I'm not really sure what that animal is, but that looks like a ram and a bumblebee and a duck. Oh, all kinds of different people. We call that diverse. That means not all alike, but different. For special occasions, she gathered wild mushrooms to make her grandmother's secret sauce. One day, while Noodlephant was shopping for a party, a kangaroo blew his whistle. "You there, elephant, what are you doing with all those eggs and semolina flour?" Said Noodlephant, trying to stay calm. "I was thinking of a fresh batch of fettuccine. Maybe curly cavatappi would be nice. Or I could stretch it into a tangle of tagliatelle. So how do you think Noodlephant is feeling right now with Kangaroo blowing his whistle and yelling at her? Yeah, I bet she's worried. You can tell because the author said that she was trying to stay calm. "Oh, no, you won't," snapped the kangaroo, pulling a law book from his pouch. "Elephants are no longer able or allowed to eat noodles. It says so right here. Noodles are for kangaroos. Elephants shall only eat sticks and branches." "Maybe you don't know me," said Noodlephant, "but I'm Noodlephant, and I'm all about noodles." "You're an elephant," said the kangaroo. "If we catch you eating noodles, we will lock you up in the zoo. Buy some acai branches and don't even think about noodles." Look at all of the other animals scattering and scared. Walking home, Noodlephant couldn't help but think about noodles. She thought about their shapes and colors and all their slurpy sauces. Third graders, I can tell that noodles and pasta in general is very important to Noodlephant. And I think it might even have been important to her identity, meaning who she is as a person, because the author did say that she has a secret sauce that her grandmother made. So this is something that is probably been in her family. How do you think she's feeling right now, knowing that that little piece of herself has been taken away? What color would she be in the mood meter? Yeah, in the blue or maybe even in the red. I think that if somebody tried to take away part of my identity or tell me I couldn't do something or yelled at me in the grocery store, I think I'd definitely be in the red or the blue. When her friends arrived, Noodlephant had nothing to offer them. She tried pouring tomato sauce on the acai branches, but they were not slippery. They were not slurpable. The thorns prickled and poked inside their bellies. Does not sound yummy. As Noodlephant gazed at her tender belly button, its shape reminded her of something. A tortellino. Tortellino. It's a kind of pasta. All at once she had an idea, a fantastic idea, a revolutionary idea for a completely new kind of machine. A revolution is when we take something, a system or a machine, and we totally redo it to make something new and better. Together, Noodlephant and her friends tapped and tinkered, singing as they worked. Those kangaroos are kangarooed, making rules about our food, telling us how we should think, what we can eat, and what to drink. When our new machine is done, we'll all eat pasta by the ton, 'cause noodles are for me's and you's, not just those bossy kangaroos. They called the machine the Fantastic Noodler. It was very complicated, but also very simple. With a few turns of a crank, it could turn anything into noodles. So this is the way that Noodlephant is trying to solve her problem. She can't go to the grocery store and buy those things that you need to make pasta, like semolina flour or eggs, because she's only allowed to eat acai berries. So how she solved her problem? She's created a machine that will turn any old thing into noodles. Let's see if it works. Noodlephant tossed in some pens. She turned the crank, and out tumbled a pile of overcooked penne, too soggy. She knocked a dent in the side, and the next batch was perfectly al dente. Al dente is where it's not mushy, it's not too hard, it's just perfect pasta. They looked around the house and found more stuff to transform, cranking cans into cannellini, pillows into ravioli, and radiators into radiatori. Radiatori, maybe. Maybe saying some of these pasta names wrong. The noodles were slippery, slurpy, and scrumptious. It was a grand pasta party, the best one yet. Come out with your trunk up. Oh no, who's found out about our pasta party and come in? Those bossy kangaroos. The kangaroos tried Noodlephant in a kangaroo court. They said she had broken the laws. Noodlephant said the laws were already broken. Third graders, I want you to think about that. The kangaroos said, this elephant has broken our rules. But Noodlephant said, no, the rules were already broken. What do you think she meant by the rules were already broken? Go ahead and say it out loud like you're sitting next to me in the classroom. Yeah, she's saying that there's the rules as they stand aren't fair, that they're not working and they're not right. Let's see if the kangaroos change their mind. She declared, the laws for elephants and shrews, tortoises, fruit bats, and gnus should be the same as those we have for all you wealthy, rich kangaroos. So what's she saying there? What's she arguing for? Can you say it in one word? Equity. She's saying that if it's good enough for those kangaroos, it's good enough for all the other animals, that everybody should have what they need to be successful. Guilty, said the judge. As she was being led away, Noodlephant shouted, justice is for all of us, not just you the bossiest, and though right now it sounds absurd, one day you'll want to eat your words. Poor Noodlephant. Each day, a zookeeper brought Noodlephant a pile of thorny acai branches, and each day she refused to eat them. She was on strike. Third graders, to be on strike is to refuse to do something until you get what you need. So Noodlephant is on strike until maybe she's let out of jail or zoo, or until she's changed, they've changed the laws. The kind of strike that she's on right now is called a food strike. And one of the nonviolent social justice activists that's most famous for food strikes was Mahatma Gandhi, who we talked just a little bit about in school. Mahatma Gandhi helped to bring justice and equity and to have home rule. That means they got to control their own government to India. Weeks passed and Noodlephant got thinner and thinner. When her friends visited, they worried about her health. They urged her to eat, but she was resolute. That means she was determined. The kangaroo laws aren't fair, and everyone knows it. I'll starve before I eat a single thorn. Her friends called the kangaroos and wrote them letters. They protested outside the courthouse. Some kangaroos agreed the laws were wrong, but most didn't care. Third graders, to protest, you can see what they're doing there. They've gone with signs and they're arguing that Noodlephant should be released. Remember now that the author said that some kangaroos agreed with them. Some kangaroos wanted the laws to change, but it said most didn't care. I want you to think about that. Why, when something is so incredibly unjust, would the kangaroos not care? Go ahead and say it out loud. What do you think? Just like we were in class together. I don't know what you said, but what I think is that these laws benefit the kangaroos. The kangaroos are protected and they get to eat all the noodles they want. So they don't really feel like those laws need to change because they're protected. And so Noodlephant remained alone, stuck in the zoo. Her friends agreed they had to do something. One lonesome day, Noodlephant received a letter. Dear Noodlephant, we know you don't like acai branches, but we wish you would try to eat them tonight. Deep down, you just might find they're fantastic. And they spelled fantastic the same way that they called the fantastic noodler. And they highlighted those words. Deep down, find, and fantastic. Love, your friends. That evening, Noodlephant accepted the zookeeper's pile of thorny branches. She dug deep down with her trunk and found the fantastic noodler. For an appetizer, she cranked the letter into a steaming bowl of alphabet soup. Then Noodlephant clamped the machine onto the bars of her cage. Slowly and quietly, she turned the crank. The iron bars collapsed into a pile of warm udon, which she scooped up in slippery slurps. She had never been so happy to see her friends. What did she do, third graders? She escaped the zoo using the fantastic noodler. They decided to throw a pasta party, the like of which had never been seen. Noodlephant's friends spread the word. Everyone was welcome, so long as they brought something to share. Third graders, Noodlephant just broke out of the zoo. Why isn't she hiding? Wouldn't you hide if you just broken out of the zoo and they were trying to put you back in? Do you think maybe she has a plan? What could her plan be? Think about it. Let's find out. As for Noodlephant, she knew the time had come to make something truly special. She ventured deep into the forest to snuffle out wild mushrooms for her grandmother's secret sauce. As the sun rose over the courthouse square, the animals began to cook. Smells wafted over the town. Sizzling onions mixed with simmering tomatoes, the tang of raw garlic blended with the fresh basil of the Parmesan sauce. Soon, the guests began to arrive. Each animal brought something different to crank through the fantastic noodler. Look where they are, third graders. They're right outside of the courthouse, where all the kangaroos are. Together they turned corkscrews into cavatappi, flowers into fiore, and wheels into rotel. That's until... What do you think you're doing here? Look who's come. Welcome to our potluck, said Noodlephant. Our guests have all brought something to share. Do you have anything to offer? The kangaroo brandished his law book, that means he took it out and showed it to them, and began, "The law is the law. It says right here, noodles are for kanga." What a thoughtful contribution, said Noodlephant. With a flick of her trunk, she whisked the law book from the kangaroo's paw and cranked it through the machine. Out came a piping hot slice of lasagna covered in bubbling cheese. She topped it off with mushroom sauce and gave it to the kangaroo. It was the most delicious thing he had ever tasted. The other kangaroos lined up to crank their laws through the fantastic noodler, turning out tray after tray of mushroom lasagna. So what's happening here? What did she do? What was her plan? She made all the kangaroos super excited to have lasagna, and they had a party together where they shared their food and got to know each other. The town celebrated long into the night, singing together. When the laws are so unjust, misbehavior is a must. Together we will make new rules to share along with fresh noodles. 'Cause noodles are for me's and you's, we won't be locked up in the zoos. We'll slurp them down on avenues, at the beach, and in canoes. Yes, noodles are for me's and you's. We'll share them with the kangaroos. Okay, South Shore, thanks so much for hanging around and reading this book with me. I hope you liked it as much as I did. Let's talk a little bit about theme. Remember that we said when we were reading the chart that we made that sometimes the author just comes right out and tells you what the theme or the message that they want you to learn is, and other times they want you to ask what the characters have learned and try and figure out with clues in the text. So knowing that, I want to pull your attention to two different parts in the text. Do you remember when Noodlephant was arrested and tried for breaking the law? What the author said about that? I'm going to go ahead and reread that for you. The kangaroos tried Noodlephant in a kangaroo court. They said she had broken the laws. Noodlephant said, "The laws are already broken." She declared, "The laws for elephants and shrews, tortoises, fruit bats, and canoes should be the same as those we use for all you wealthy kangaroos." So what she was saying is that we should have equality. Everything should be the same. And that the laws that were in place were broken. So she didn't break good laws, she broke bad laws. Laws that were unfair and unequitable and unequal. And then at the end, the second part I want to bring your attention to is at the end when they were singing that song. And don't worry, I won't sing at you again, but it said, "When the laws are so unjust, misbehavior is a must. Together we will make new rules to share along with fresh noodles." And here you can see that they are sharing the noodles, they're sharing them with the kangaroos, but they're not abiding any longer by laws that they think were unfair. In fact, they put those laws right in the fantastic noodler and made lasagna out of them. So in two places, the author is saying that when laws are bad, we should not follow them. We should, and the whole story was Noodlephant and her friends standing up for what they thought was right. And that's one of the themes we even put on this chart. The message in the book, I think the theme is that we need to stand up for what's right, even if that means breaking the rules. So I want to know what you think about that. Your assignment today is to write an opinion about whether or not you think that it's right or just to break rules that are bad or unfair to other people. Should we just follow rules because rules are important and they keep us safe? Or should we look for rules that aren't fair and not follow them? We know what Noodlephant and this author thinks, and I'm wondering, what do you think? Okay, third graders, I can't wait to read what you write about your opinion, whether or not we should follow the rules or we should break unjust rules like Noodlephant. Maybe you think one or the other, maybe you think somewhere in the middle. I can't wait to read your great thinking. Don't forget to send it to your teachers. Third graders, I also just want to say that I bet you can make a text to World Connection. Noodlephant and her friends were protesting the unfair treatment of all the animals except for the kangaroos. And on Saturday, we saw people all over the country protesting the unfair treatment, the very bad treatment of Black Americans by the people who were supposed to make the laws and then uphold the laws and protect us. I just want to say that you have something in common with Noodlephant. Noodlephant had a big, beautiful, diverse community around her, and so do you. And your community is here to support you with whatever you need. I know that the images that we're seeing over the weekend on the news can be kind of scary and upsetting. But just like Noodlephant, you are surrounded by people who love you, who are just like I tell you in class, our most important priority is that you are safe and then that you are happy. So if you ever want to talk or check in with me or with your teacher, don't forget that we have office hours every week. I'm also a phone call or a text away or an email. Just know that even though it's so hard that we can't be in class together, especially now with all of these things going on in our community and we can't sit together in circle and talk about them, that doesn't mean the fact that we're not physically together does not mean that we're not thinking about you and wishing you safe and wishing you happy. So please reach out to us. We're here to support you. We love you so much. There's so many adults in your life who love and care for you and only want the best things for you. Remember, third graders, that you are the change that we want to see in the world. You are the reason that we come to work every day, even if coming to work looks like just talking to you in our own living rooms. We are thinking about you all the time. Take care of yourselves, take care of your families. Reach out to us to talk if you want to. All right, South Shore, stay strong. Talk soon.